Hey folks, thanks for tuning in to the Neutral Zone Hotel. We're a left-leaning podcast that explores hockey at its best and worst. This is Benjamin. My pronouns are he, him. I'm a Montreal Canadiens fan living in the lovely city of Ottawa. I say lovely, but right now it's so unbelievably hot. So I'm staying outside and outside and in where it is cool, and thankful for the invention of air conditioning. Since we have air conditioning at the hotel, we're happy to also welcome a couple of our staff members, starting with SJ.
Hi, I'm SJ. I am a Seattle Kraken fan living in the beautiful city of Seattle, where the weather is actually very nice right now. But I would like to dedicate this episode to the memory of Trevor's internet connection. Rest in peace.
You can edit in some taps if you want there, SJ, later. And also joining us today is Alex.
Hi, I'm Alex. My pronouns are she, her. I'm a fan of the Pittsburgh Penguins. And I live in the American South, so I'm just kind of chuckling lightly at Benjamin complaining about the heat.
Yeah. Look, I'm a Canadian. I'm an East Coast Canadian. I'm not used to this sort of sweltering nonsense. And, you know, if you can't stand the heat, you should get out of the kitchen. Pascal Vincent couldn't take it anymore, or more accurately, Don Waddell decided it was time to throw the baby out with the bathwater. You can mix your metaphor however you want, but Pascal Vincent out in Columbus. How are you feeling about that?
I believe it was Aaron Portzline who wrote a nice article today that basically sums it up. It was not a surprise. He did a very bad job, but he was also given a really terrible situation and no real support. So, yeah, it just kind of sucks. It's like, I feel bad for him, but also he wasn't good. So, I don't know.
We talked about it when he got hired, which is that the situation in which he inherited the head coaching position is maybe the single most set up to fail a head coach has ever been. Basically, the only comparable situation was when Larson got hired by the Colorado Avalanche. And even then, he still had basically a good chunk of the offseason instead of it being right before camp. And yeah, he didn't do anything with that roster because the roster didn't have anything he could do with it. Even accounting for that, a lot of the moves he made to try and shake things up, to try and get things going, weren't inspiring. A lot of benching young players in favor of veterans. When
he also benched his veterans, though.
Yeah, and then turning and benching the veterans. He tried pushing buttons, and he did not push those buttons very well, even accounting for everything else. The timing's odd in terms of a bad team firing their head coach, but that's probably accounting for the fact that there was no one actually making decisions at that level for the Columbus Blue Jackets until they did hire Don Waddell 3 weeks ago. And the situation with the Blue Jackets coaching is unique enough that I definitely understand taking that time to talk with everyone about what you want to do with the coaching staff versus just coming in guns blazing, that being your first item of action, day one.
Yeah, I think it would have been better for Vincent if he had gotten fired right away.
Yeah.
There's a good chance he might have gotten an assistant's job somewhere else. But those jobs
specifically Winnipeg.
Yeah. But on the other hand, he's still under contract, so he's still getting paid. And it's not like he's going to starve this year either.
I'm not too worried about this guy starving. Alex, you hit it on the head. It's the biggest set up to fail situation I've seen in a long time. NHL coaches are hired to be fired, but in this situation, you were coming in after the big offseason hiring failed because of bullshittery, and you're given a roster that is all kinds of garbage and told the goal is to be competitive for a playoff spot rather than to develop the young players that really need to develop. So there's absolutely, what a terrible position to be in. And I do think that firing him was the right move. I get why Waddell would want to check his options first, get to know the guy, because I'm guessing he didn't watch too many Columbus Blue Jackets games during the season, because why the hell would you? But once that process is done, he's out. And I am curious who comes in. I would not be surprised if it is someone with ties to either, the Hurricanes under his tenure, although I think most of those people are under contract still.
There's one guy who's available that he's not going to hire because he's not. I don't think that he's going to be allowed to by literally anyone. Bill Peters.
No, let's not.
It's not even jokingly. No.
Yeah, I think Bill Peters is going to be on the do not hire list for the rest of his life at the NHL level.
Yep.
We can only hope.
Yeah. And it's not like, we've talked about do not coach lists before, and the difference between Bill Peters and another person on that list, or the other two guys who are meaningfully on the list, which is Babcock and Quenneville, is that Babcock and Quenneville got results and Bill Peters didn't. So it's a lot easier, I think, for NHL GMs to keep him off the list. But Bob Hartley's not doing anything. He's old, but since when has that stopped an NHL coach from showing up? So I don't know. We'll see. It'll be interesting, but the roster is still all kinds of screwed up. They're going to get another top young player in the draft. But hopefully whoever comes in has the mandate to grow the team properly rather than try to make the playoffs.
Maybe they should just promote the Milwaukee Admirals coach.
Maybe.
Carl Taylor. They were good this year.
I've never heard of Carl Taylor.
Yeah, I had to look it up.
When you first asked in the Discord, my thought process was I can't really see any of the names I've heard of taking this job or being interested in this job through a combination of either being retired or wanting something better, or
I bet McClellan would take this job,
or the Blue Jackets looking at it and saying, "No, this guy's we can do better than this guy." So I think it's going to be some guy I've never heard of or never heard of as a head coach.
Speaking of guys I'd never heard of before, Ryan Warsofsky has been hired as the new head coach of the San Jose Sharks. He was an assistant for them beforehand for 2 years, and previous to that was an AHL head coach. Notably, 2021-22, he led the Chicago Wolves to the Calder Cup, which is the championship for that league, for those who don't know. How are we feeling about Ryan Warsofsky?
This reminds me, this must be the guy that was coaching the Wolves when he kept playing Alex Lyon over Peter Kochetkov in the Calder Cup playoffs, and the Hurricanes tried to get him fired because they wanted him to play Kochetkov, and he refused to do it. And and that's one of the things that destroyed the relationship between the Wolves and the Hurricanes for a year. So I guess this guy's he's got some resolve to not buckle under that kind of pressure. Yeah, he's got. I was a little surprised by this hire. I figured they would probably go for the other guy, Marco Sturm, but they ended up promoting somebody who was already in the organization. And I think the feeling here was that if they didn't promote him, they would lose him in the next few years. So this seems to be a guy who's been kind of on the rise.
Yeah, it's the sort of thing where he's not a name you've heard of, but then you look at his resume, the Calder Cup championship, the fact that he's been with the team for the past couple of years, and you think, and I thought to myself, well, no shit, they did this. This is the sort of thing, if it was like, this is the sort of name that up and coming teams or rebuilding teams, because the Sharks aren't yet in that up and coming phase of the rebuild, hire, which is a promising young guy. And it makes me kind of wonder if, I don't know, did they ask Sturm and then Sturm decided he wasn't interested? Did they
I mean, maybe it just came down to the interview.
Yeah. Like, because this took, they compared to some of the other teams, they took their time coming to this decision, like,
yeah,
versus a kind of, for some teams, cough, Buffalo, cough, they kind of knew what guy they wanted to get pretty quickly. So yeah, it's an interesting hire. We always like to see someone who hasn't had an NHL job before get a NHL head coaching job. So yeah, good for him. It's likely a fine hire.
The Calder Cup's head coach does have a history of being a pretty good NHL head coach. So there's some really notable names on the list. Current NHL head coaches who've won a Calder Cup include John Tortorella, Peter Laviolette. Todd McClellan's not currently a head coach, but you have to think he will be again. Bruce Boudreau probably is retired. John Cooper, Jared Bednar, Sheldon Keefe.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's pretty good. There's also some guys in there who didn't succeed so much at the NHL level, guys like a Claude Noel or a Jeff Blashill or Willie Desjardins. But
that's the worst. That's the risk you run.
Yeah, hockey is weird. So
yeah,
who knows? Who knows?
I fully expect the Hershey Bears coach Todd Nelson to get an NHL job soon.
Yeah, Todd Nelson had coached part of one season in Edmonton before. He went down to his 51 games, 2014 to 2015 in the NHL. This is notable as being the year that...
Weren't they bottoming out that year?
They bottomed out that year, and they ended up drafting some little guy, some guy called Connor McDavid.
Yeah.
So he was not given a lot, even though they had so many number one picks at that point. He was not given a lot to play with because that's how bad the Oilers were.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I don't know. It's I think that Todd Nelson is probably one of those guys who has worked his way up into consideration.
Yeah, see what happens next year.
We'll see. All right. Yeah, so speaking of off-ice moves, Eric Tulsky has been promoted to general manager of the Carolina Hurricanes. They've taken off the interim tag after Don Waddell dipped to go to Columbus. Tulsky is a really interesting character to me. His background is in chemistry. He has a PhD in chemistry from Berkeley. He worked in nanotechnologies. He holds multiple patents in nanotechnology and began as a fan blogger for Broad Street Hockey. So this is somebody who has come from a completely non-traditional world. It is tough to call him one of the 200 hockey men, even though he is now officially one of the 200 hockey men. So I don't know. I'm really curious to see how this goes down, both on the ice, like what the product he's going to build will be. But I'm also curious to see how broader hockey reacts to such a unrelentant nerd coming into the echelons of power.
This is not the first time we've had, maybe not as blatant a blogger background, but this is the third time we've had someone purportedly from the analytics community being elevated to the head of a franchise hockey operations. The reason I added purportedly in there is because one of those was when the Coyotes hired John Chayka, who was a snake oil salesman when it came to the analytics, but that was still how he had built his reputation. The other one was the Computer Boys, the brief, tumultuous Computer Boys era in the Florida Panthers, which was maybe the messiest a hockey operations department has been in the past couple decades. That year and a half or so that Tom Rowe was in charge in Florida. So I hope it goes significantly better for the Hurricanes than either of those two tenures.
Well, he's been an AGM in Carolina for quite some time. He seems to be very much a known quantity there. And when Waddell moved on, it was, I think, he got the interim tag. I think certainly my feeling was that if they didn't hire him full time, then they were really going to be missing out on.
He was.
I mean, I don't know how he is as an administrator, but he does seem to understand player evaluation and like how to build a team and so on.
He's been getting to the final rounds of interviews this past year, or this previous offseason. He got pretty deep into consideration for I know the Penguins GM job before they hired Kyle Dubas. He was one of the finalists before Dubas became officially available. He's interviewed with quite a few other places. So it's definitely something where he had options, but also he was the guy there. By all accounts, the AGMs in Carolina had slightly more say over a slightly wider range of hockey things than the equivalent titles in other teams. They had a much more diffused decision-making structure. So he's definitely built that reputation, and it's definitely good to see. One thing that was not good to see, the Carolina Hurricanes did him absolutely dirty with their announcement tweet and the photo choice that they used. And like, this is not, I'm going to be a bit mean here. Eric Tulsky is not a guy who photographs just well in general. But if you look at the tweet that the Hurricanes posted versus, say, the photo that the Athletic used in their reporting of the news, he looks terrible in the Hurricanes tweet. Just.
I'm not on Twitter, so I haven't seen it. I'm sad to hear that.
He looks like he's 90.
Even on the best of days, he looks like a guy that NHL Central Casting has gone and pulled out of his mother's basement to be the stock opinionated blogger on the internet figure. And that photo that the Hurricanes used does him no favors.
Well, could be worse, I suppose. Somehow. He's getting paid. And speaking of getting paid, Philip Roenick of the Vancouver Canucks gets paid a $7.25 million extension to kick in on July 1st. 8 years, $58 million total. About half of the salary is going to be in signing bonuses to start, drifting down to like 1/3 by the end. No move clause this year because it was an RFA year. Or I guess he wasn't old enough because it was it was an RFA year. And then 3 years of a full clause, and then 4 years, 15 teams. How are we feeling about Philip Roenick? Big contract in Vancouver.
I'm glad they didn't give him a full no move for like the end of that contract, because I'm not sure how it's gonna age. I think it's a slight overpay, but at least the cap's going up.
Yeah, it's a hefty contract for a guy who's going to be the number 2 defenseman. But also, when you look at the way that Quinn Hughes has performed with him versus without him, you can see why Vancouver would make that move. But yeah, it's definitely something that could be a real problem in that tail end of the contract. Because I am someone who knows the Penguins more than any other team, the role comparable for me is going to be Brian Dumoulin, which is a guy who settles in as the number 2 guy, the guy who is maybe not the second best defender on the team, but is the guy who partners the best with your number 1 defender, and who really helps him and helps the team when he's on the ice. And locking that guy up can be real useful, but those guys can also fall off quicker than your number 1 guys. And as you, SJ, are probably aware, Brian Dumoulin has certainly fallen off.
I mean, he's a perfectly okay third pair guy.
So
Seattle
is giving him the sort of thing where, yeah, this will probably age well. Hopefully the secondary factors with the cap going up, with the evolution of other players, younger players on the Canucks roster, make it so that when it does go well or does start to downturn, it doesn't hurt as much.
The way I look at it is the Canucks are paying between $2 and $5 million for the next many years to not have Oliver Ekman-Larsson pay for them. And that's a penalty against the money they should be spending on defense. It sucks, but that's the business. They say, I honestly feel like with Hronik's year that he had, he could have pushed for $8 million or more. They probably hit the number about right for the way the cap looks like it is going to be next year and the year after. And I agree with you, SJ. I think it's good that there's no move. 15 teams seems like a lot, but you can probably find a team in the, 16 that aren't on that list to take a guy like Roenick if he's underperforming or if you feel like he needs to change his scenery. So, yeah, I'm fine with it. I didn't love it when I first saw it, but yeah, it's fine. It couples with that Pettersson extension to mean a lot of money spent, but Vancouver's still sitting on $17 million plus Tucker Poolman's $2.5 million LTIR they can spend. And they need a couple forwards and a couple defenders because they probably shouldn't re-sign Tyler Myers at anything close to what he was making last year. So, yeah, I'm fine with it. It's fine. I'd be happy if I was a Vancouver fan. Except apparently if you're a Vancouver fan, you don't have any internet, so I'd be very, very upset.
The entire city of Vancouver without internet. You heard it here first.
That's right. All right. Oh, that's it. I don't care about Barclay Goodrow going on waivers. If something actually happens, we can talk about it. He's on waivers. Congratulations. Everybody saw this coming the second that contract was signed. So why don't we do a quick dip and talk about Natalie Spooner, who has been named the double IHF Player of the Year. Not so unsurprising to me. The thing that I find interesting is that the double IHF is certainly looking at PWHL performance because she wasn't that great at the championships. But well deserved by Natalie Spooner.
I'm not sure why the IIHF cares that much about how she performed in the P-Dub.
Yeah, I don't know. Let's see if we can figure it out. Natalie Spooner had 33.6% of all votes cast by 100 members of the media from the top 16 nations of the Women's World Championship program. Second was American Alex Carpenter, 14.6, ahead of Poulin, Alina Mueller, Yeni Hirikolski, and Sandra Abstreiter. This is only the second year they've run Player of the Year. Last year was the first. It is intended for the player who excelled at both the double IHF level and in a domestic league of the highest caliber for that country.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Well, I mean, she certainly did blow the roof off her domestic league. So
yeah, I got to see her play a few times. She definitely poured some goals in against PWHL Ottawa. So
yep,
it was she's a hell of a player, and hopefully she comes back from that knee injury and is able to rock and roll next year. Although maybe rock and roll against the other four teams. You can score all your goals against Minnesota. Nobody likes them now.
Yeah, good luck.
One other PWHL thing that happened this week was the Britta Curl apology. I'm putting that in air quotes. We're not going to talk about it in depth right now because we are working on a more in-depth discussion of transphobia in women's sports. And it's going to be part of that process. Suffice to say, SJ is currently putting their finger down their throat, making a bleh, bleh, bleh sound. So you can tell what we think of it, right?
I mean, I thought it was an apology.
It was very much a political, you could tell it was written by somebody, written on the advice of a media pro, and very much, I have gay friends, I can't be transphobic. But I think we will actually do a bit where we talk quite deeply about it. But yeah, right now we're in the middle of the Stanley Cup playoffs. It's almost over. It's a happy time. So we will be doing an in-depth conversation about that. And we wanted to bring it up because, we do want to address this issue. But given that it's happened amidst a whole in-depth dive, you're just going to have to wait, valued listeners. SJ, Alex, what do you think about Utah Hockey Club's powder blue uniforms?
Well, they're not. The uniforms aren't even blue.
They look blue to me.
They're using a black for their primary and white for their whites, and they have powder blue striping.
Well, all of their branding is in powdered blue, so I guess I just assumed.
Yeah, no, they're using black as their primary. So, I mean, it probably would be better if they used the powder blue as the primary color on the jersey, but no, they're too cool for school. So my feeling on the color scheme is that it's the safe choice. Every team in the league is blue, and I'm just bored. I find it a boring choice. Like, it's fine. It looks fine. Like, there's a reason that blue and white are so popular in the league. It looks fine, but I just want purple. I want purple teams. I want more green teams. We have 2 green teams. What is that? And I want pink. Give me a pink team. Thank you.
The Calgary Hitmen certainly aren't enough to sate SJ's desire
Honestly,
for pink.
I'm going to take the opposite approach. I have come around to the viewpoint that as long as the team's color scheme and visual branding makes it so that they're visually distinct from the other teams, I'm going to be fine with it. And I do think that shade of blue that they chose is distinct enough from everyone else. The only one that has a color similar or close to it are the Kraken, and the other colors that the Kraken used make it so that there's not going to be that confusion that you get in a Tampa Bay Toronto matchup. And as long as you avoid that, I'm happy with it.
I would do a murder to make Tampa change their color scheme. Like, I figure, the Leafs were there first. They had that color first. Tampa needs to change to anything else. They could be a red team. But I just get so confused every freaking time they play the Leafs.
Oh, the red team's already bad enough. Give me more purple.
We need more purple.
Yeah, actually legitimately wish the Kings would go back to being purple.
Yeah. Did you see, it looks like the Ducks are going to do a fully orange jersey.
So
this year,
there's stuff that went around today that's very clearly fake on a closer second look. But they did release the teaser image of the orange duck eye hidden by the presumably other fabrics used in the construction of the jersey. So yeah, no, they're definitely at the very least, I do think they are going to lean more into the orange.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm expecting an orange primary.
I thought the duck eye looked angry, so I'm kind of hoping we're going to get a really angry duck out of this, just frowning at the world, or give me an angry duck. Yep.
I want, we're back to angry animals, angry cartoon animals. And it's going to be the Mighty Ducks mask. So I'm fine with it. I'm happy that the Ducks are going back to the more of the old Mighty Ducks branding and stop using that god-awful webbed foot logo that I hate. But, and I guess I'm fine with having more orange teams. I just want purple and green.
The webbed foot works fine as a secondary. It's terrible as a primary.
So for now, we're going to take a little break, and then when we come back, we are going to do a lightning round where we talk about what every team needs in the offseason. Kick off this lightning round with off-season team needs and thoughts. Just want to remind you, we're on YouTube at Neutral Zone Hotel, where you can smash the like button, subscribe, click the little bell to be notified when another episode of your favorite podcast drops. And you can always leave comments. We read them. Someone actually left a giant comment on our last one. We're assuming they were just cruising for PWHL Minnesota stuff. But hey, please We love hearing from you. If you want to talk to us, you can hang out with us on Discord, neutralzonehotel.com/Discord. You can hit us up on Instagram or Blue Sky at Neutral Zone Hotel, all one word. And yeah, if you're enjoying yourself, give us 5 stars on your podcast platform of choice. It helps the show grow. So what we're going to do is we're going to pull up Cap Friendly. We are going to, for one last ride while we can. And we're going to have a quick series of conversations for off-season team needs. This is completely off the top of our heads. So don't expect too much profoundness. But I'm sure we all have some thoughts about what's going on. So do you guys want to go division? You want to go in alphabetical order? Do we have a preference?
Let's start West, because no one ever starts with the West.
Hey folks, quick cut in from the editing chair. The following segment was recorded before the trades of Jacob Markstrom to New Jersey and Pierre-Luc Dubois and Darcy Kemper being traded for each other. So at least for the Los Angeles section, you can probably ignore everything we say.
All right, let's do the Quack Attack. Duckies, SJ.
Okay, I am opening up their cap-friendly page. Okay, so from what I remember about the Ducks, this is what they've done for the last 2 years. They've started off really strong, and you were like, oh, they're going to be a team this year. And then they have fallen off by December, and they've basically just completely collapsed. They need to not do that this year. So I think they should be a lot stronger up the center with McTavish and Leo Carlson this year, but they're still really young. All those guys need to take steps, and they need to really, I don't know, support their younger players. I think they need to be in the hunt this year for a cap.
I kind of disagree. I think in the offseason you should see what value you can get. I think this should be the offseason that they trade Trevor Zegras. I think that is. I don't think he's going to be what they need from him. I don't think as long as he is there, he's going to be able to succeed. So I think this is an offseason where you take a couple of your guys, Zegras and Frankie Vetrano, and you try to get what value you can. You should be able to get something for both of them, especially if you're doing something like retaining, but I'm not optimistic on what they got. I think they need another couple years in the oven.
I'm on board with that. The picks, they've got 2 first rounds, 2 second rounds, 3 third rounds this year, but 2025 is looking pretty bare. They, for some reason, traded away their second round pick next year. Trade Zegras for next year's picks. Trade Cam Fowler. Retain 50%. And if you can get a third round pick for half of John Gibson, you do it. Move the salary out, bring in some guys on short-term veteran deals to work with the new players coming in, and then draft yourself a nice big defensive stud to replace the guy that you just had to give up because you gave up to get Cutter Gauthier, basically.
I mean, don't they already have... They already have Mintyukov and Zellweger.
We don't know if those guys are going to fully work out yet. Get another one.
That's what's available. Get another one.
Easy as that. I don't think they can move Gibson. I think
they're also. No, I agree, but that's why I said if you can get a 4th round pick for him, you do it.
I mean, I think they will have to pay to move his contract.
Yeah. Well, let's not talk about it too much because this is supposed to be a lightning round. Let's move to the Flames instead.
So they're definitely trading Markstrom, right?
They have to. If they can find a place Markstrom will go, they got to move him. I think the question here, and maybe this is all the lightning round is stay the course or blow it up.
Blow it up, but I'm not sure you can blow it up enough to be impactful because the guys who are the issue aren't going anywhere.
They're not moving Huberdeau or Kadri. I mean, those are the only really bad contracts they have, though. I guess Blake Coleman is kind of a bad contract, but they could probably move him. He had a career year last year.
I'm on blow it up. Move Mangiapane. Move Rasmus Anderson. Move Jakob Markstrom.
They could get a lot for Anderson.
I agree. I think he's only got a 6-team no trade list. You can move him to a contender and get, I think, a haul.
He's only 27.
And
they could get something for Uyghur too. Uyghur is very much worth that contract, and he signed for a long time. But he has a no trade, 10-team no trade list.
You can convince him to move.
Oh, actually, that doesn't even kick in yet. No,
he's still no trade this year.
Is he? Yeah.
Yeah. I think that you consider moving Uyghur if you can convince him to move. Kadri, you might be able to get someone to take him at $5 million. Retain 2. You use what tricks you can to bring back assets.
I mean, I don't know if they're going to want to retain for 5 years.
I think that as long as Huberdeau's on the roster, it doesn't matter.
God, what a boat anchor of a contract.
Terrible. Alex, last thoughts?
I said mine. You gave us the imperative to keep this to a few sentences, and I'm trying my best to do so.
All right. Well, why don't you kick us off with the Edmonton Oilers, presuming they do not win the Stanley Cup?
Even if they do win the Stanley Cup, get Nurse off your books. That is the big thing you have to try and do. I think you call Utah and you say, can we make this work? And that's it.
I'm the same, but I think the bigger things you need to move are Jack Campbell and Cody Ceci.
Well, Jack Campbell is getting bought out this summer. 100%. Yeah. He is a perfect buyout candidate.
Yep. Get rid of him. And I think that you find a place to dump Cody Ceci. Nurse is bad, but like you can't trust Chris Knobloch to not pair Nurse and Ceci together, apparently. So you just have to get rid of one of them. SJ?
I'm looking at a nurse buyout.
They're not going to do a nurse buyout.
I wanted to look anyway. Yeah, can't do it. It's too expensive, and there's no real savings after next year. Well, the next 2 years. There's savings in the next 2 years, and then not after that.
So I'm going to ask yes or no question.
Okay.
Starting with SJ. Leon Draisaitl, does he resign before the puck drops on the next season?
I think he does.
Alex?
No, but it'll be a during the season thing.
I am no. Leon Draisaitl does not re-sign in Edmonton until he has his name on the Stanley Cup in Edmonton. If he doesn't, he's gone.
Interesting.
Alrighty. Let's go to LA. SJ, what are you feeling about LA?
I think that
and I guess the big question here is there a Dubois buyout coming if they can pull it off?
I don't think they're going to buy him out. No, I don't think that they're going to buy him out. And I think the only thing that would have allowed them to buy him out was firing Blake, and they didn't do that. And who's the guy in charge? Like Robitaille?
Robitaille, yep.
Yeah, I think they're going to give. I think they're going to hang themselves on that Dubois contract. The team, they seem kind of like they've stalled out a bit. Like they came out of they really tried to do that retool to get good again before Kopitar was going to retire, right? And Doughty. Before Kopitar and Doughty would retire, while they were still effective. And I think the problem is that they pulled out just a little too early. And they didn't get enough. And the stuff that they did get, the assets that they did get, like the banquet of right-hand D prospects, they aren't like using them correctly to get guys that will to trade for guys who will like actually make them better. So I haven't been really impressed with what they've done in trades to improve in the now. And I just think that they've kind of stalled. So I don't know what they do. I don't know how they get better.
I think in this offseason, they're going to keep the course because I kind of think they have to, at least for this next couple of seasons. But what you have to do is go and get a goaltender. They barely got through this year with a patched together core. And there are guys, you can probably make it work to get them, but that's what you need to do.
I agree. Throw everything you can at Calgary and try to get Markstrom, but if not Markstrom, get somebody. And stop trading away good role players for players you think are top line, but are not. They did that with Fiala. They did that with Dubois. Don't stop doing it. Bad.
And the choices they've made about players to trade away, not necessarily as in addition to like resources, but also in terms of like cap allocation for the younger players that they have, has already shown some cracks. Like trading away Sean Durzi was a mistake, and they got nothing for it but cap space.
Yep. And they did that to free up Dubois. Yeah, it's bad. Let's move on to the Sharkies.
Sharks, keep the course. You are in a rebuilding thing. You've cleared so much stuff off the space. Probably not something you can do in the off season, but the contract is short enough that maybe there'll be takers on Vlasic. He wasn't as terrible this year, and
I think you got to keep Vlasic just to make the cap floor. It's real bad.
I think they need to sign a couple of guys in free agency, give them too big of contracts for really short term. Because I don't think they want to be as bad next year as they were this year, but they don't want to be good either.
Yep. Bring in some people who can teach the young guys how to play hockey, and let's draft Macklin, Celebrini, and somebody in the mid, someone with Pittsburgh's pick. I'm a big fan of Mike Greer's work so far. I like how he's cleared the cap space. I like how most of that bad money is off the books by 2027 when Macklin, Celebrini, and Will Smith are going to need big contracts. And just try to be a little bit better.
They're in a prime position to take on a bunch of bad money for more picks this summer.
I mean, I really do think that they are in a great position to pick up players for bribes. Like I said, I'm a big fan of what Mike Greer's done.
Mm-hmm.
SJ, you want to lead us off with the crack attack? and this is a lightning round, SJ.
Oh, I know. They need to sign Matty Beniers.
Bridge, or do you think he's getting the 8-year?
I think they're going to try to talk him into the 8-year and I think he's going to insist on a Bridge.
Yeah.
What else do they need?
They need to go get a new fourth line. And they need, to hire some coaches. They need to hire some coaches and get a new fourth line. And I think they need to figure out who they're going to be. Because, I think the real problem under Hackstall is the team didn't really have an identity. They need to, the thing that would really make a difference for the team is they need a top line goal scorer. And I don't know what they can do to get that. I'm not.
I do.
Oh, what's that?
Sign Jay Getzel.
If Ron isn't ringing his phone, then I think he'd be making a mistake. But I don't know that he would get him. So, yeah,
I think that he is they've got the money, so
yeah, we'll see.
I think that I agree with you. They gotta sign Matty Beniers. They have to clear room for Shane Wright to come up and be able to play in the middle six.
It's already cleared. They have room.
Yep. So move on from Yanni Gord, I think, is a big piece of that. And see what you can do to bring in a big name, somebody who can actually score. I also wouldn't mind seeing a better option on the back end than Adam Larson, Jamie Alexiak.
I think the Kraken try to make a Necas trade.
Oh, Marty Netchus?
Yeah.
Carolina. I mean, I think Ron was rumored to be looking at that, but I honestly don't think that Necas is a good enough player to really make a difference. I think he's exactly the kind of middle six guy that we already have, and that he wouldn't move the needle.
How would you feel about Patrick Laine?
I don't know. I think he's such Patrick Laine is a conundrum to me. I don't know that it's just so uncertain what player you're gonna get. If he could have a resurgent year, knock everybody's socks off, score 40 goals, or he could be he could play 20 games and have 10 points. And I would not be surprised to see either of those results. So I think he's a really risky option. And I just don't know that I would be cool with paying for a lot for that kind of risk.
All right. Vancouver Canucks. I think I'll speak for Trevor when I say stay the course.
Yep.
Pick up some middle pairing defenders and promote Artur Silovs to the big team. There you go.
The big items that they would have needed to take care of during the offseason, they took care of during the regular season.
Yeah.
I think they should not re-sign Lindholm.
I think that's a given. I think Lindholm is going to his natural place in Boston. They're going to pay him too much money.
I hope so.
All right. And then finally for the Pacific, the Vegas Golden Knights. I think they're locked in to their future. I think that their team is not changing meaningfully. Other than Jonathan Marchessault is going to probably be on the Canucks or Seattle or possibly in Toronto. I don't know. Same with Chandler Stevenson. They're walking some guys to the door. They've already got the replacements in. This year's the same as every other year.
Yep. Do what you need to make sure that you're abiding by the rules of the cap, but beyond that.
Thank you for your service, gentlemen. The other thing is if there's a Mitch Marner trade, I would not be surprised if they're a part of it.
I mean, they're always in on the big guys.
Yeah. Okay. We lightning rounded through one team, kind of, because everybody here is slow, bad at lightning rounds.
Speak for yourselves.
Do we want to do the Central next? Start with the Blackhawks?
Sure.
All right, SJ, give me 3 sentences on the Blackhawks.
They're bad. They should stay bad.
Yep. Pick up a couple more discardable veterans and get more pucks to Connor Bedard.
I mean, yeah, you've said it. Maybe see about doing something interesting with Seth Jones, but that's unlikely, and you need it. You're still going to try and want to be out on the cap floor.
Yep. Colorado, I'm going to lead this one. Decide if Casey Middlestat is your number 2C option, and if not, move him now.
I thought he had solved all of their problems at 2C.
I thought he would as well, but I don't think he did if you look at the playoffs. If he is, you sign him. If he's not, don't dick around with it. Move on and find somebody better. That's all I'm saying.
I think Colorado's big problems are Landeskog and Nichushkin, and I don't know what they do about that.
Landeskog's never coming back, so...
Nichushkin is beyond the confines of what they can reasonably predict one way or the other.
Yeah.
I mean, they have to leave the cap space open for him.
Yep.
Flags fly forever, but basically, Gabe's LTIR is set aside for Nichushkin. That's all it is.
The one
that still leaves them with tons of money.
The one small thing I say small, like it's not going to cost them $5-ish million, is extend Drouin. Like, this is the first time in Drouin's career he's been in a good place for him, and been used well, and he's your best player's good friend. Extend him. That's all.
Yeah. Give him a nice 3-year deal. Okay, let's go over to the Dallas Stars. SJ?
They need to figure out how to get a right-hand D that DeBoer will actually play. But beyond that, I think they've got great guys coming back, and they should just kind of stay the course.
Buy out Ryan Suter, help Wyatt Johnson find his own place because he can't live with Joe Pavelski anymore.
I don't think Suter's getting bought out.
Alex?
Shore up their defense is the only thing that I had. So.
Yeah. Minnesota Wild. It is the last year of Cap-pocalypse.
Wow. Finally? Oh my goodness.
It feels like they just bought those guys out yesterday.
You've got $6.5 million in cap space opening up. That's most of it's not already allocated to guys on your roster getting raises because you pursue the strategy of locking guys in long term. So make that cap space work.
They seem like they're very much going to have the exact same roster next year as they did this year.
I don't see how they can change it with the money they have available.
Yep.
So maybe some tinkering around the edges, but for them, it's all about waiting for 2025.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. Nashville. Do they trade UC Saros?
No. I don't think how you can look at your relative trajectory this year and say we're trading Yusei Saros. I think you keep him. I think you've got a better shot. I think you've gotten some unexpected development, so keep at it.
I think Askarov needs a year as a backup. Or, I mean, he's not going to be ready to be the number one guy. So, like, they're kind of if they trade Saros, they'd be putting themselves in the position of basically not having a reliable goalie for a year. And I don't think that is a place that Trotz and Brunette want to be.
I think they're going to look to grow through free agency. They could really use a center that's not Ryan O'Reilly. And yeah, Saros stays put. I get why everybody wants him, but Saros stays put.
Yeah. They need some defensemen.
The St. Louis Blues. We are in the final year of Doug Armstrong. How are we feeling about the Blues?
They're in blow it up mode. Maybe not as stark as that, but they're definitely not looking to be as competitive as they might otherwise want to be from the general manager's perspective.
I feel like they're overcommitted to Kyrou and Colton Parayko, both of whom have the red arrow of death. I feel like the Braden Shen contract has aged poorly. Torrey Krug has aged incredibly poorly. Like there's just a bunch of guys in this roster on the wrong side of 30 with multiple years left. And I think they are going to be bad next year again.
I think
and
they're really stuck because like Falk and Krug and Parayko, like they're not worth their contracts, and also they have full no trade clauses right now.
And no one's going to take them anyway. Like they're not like someone might take Torrey Krug at half freight, but
yeah, I mean they're just kind of stuck. I don't know what you do about that. I wonder if they could get anything for Binnington.
No, nobody wants him.
I mean, goalie market sucks right now, so maybe. Yeah, $6 million for 3 more years.
Maybe if you retained,
yeah,
$1 million or $2 million. Let's pop on to the Utah Hockey Club. How are we feeling about the Utah Hockey Club's offseason?
I think they're going to go hog wild in free agency.
Yeah. Their offseason is going from the lowest spending team in the league to at least close to a cap league and what cap team in whatever way they can.
I think they're going to do everything they can to make the playoffs next year. And I think that's what they should do. So, it's going to be interesting. Like, Marchessault, you are a Utah Hockey Club.
I think you do well there.
He doesn't even have to move very far.
Yep.
I think Utah is not only going to go hog wild in free agency, they have 10 second-round picks over the next 3 years. Let's go trade.
You're going to like a second-round pick for a guy who's a useful player, but on a overvalued contract, is going to be something we see a lot of, I expect.
Yep.
It's going to be interesting. Like that, Utah with an owner willing to spend is going to be a lot of fun. How are we feeling about the Jetties? I feel like they're locked in.
Nothing ever changes in Winnipeg.
They're locked in, and the biggest questions might be, can they convince everyone to keep buying season tickets without making a giant mess? And so far, the answer appears to be no.
Do you think they offer Monahan and Toffoli extensions, or do they just let them go off into the sunset? Because like Monahan was good with them for them.
I can see Monahan. I don't think Toffoli wants to be in Winnipeg. I think he is going somewhere. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up in Seattle or Vancouver again.
I would take Tyler Toffoli. I like him. As like a second line scorer, he's a good player. Hasn't fallen off yet. I do think they should try to retain Monahan, though.
Yeah, agreed. All right. So we're going to call the lightning round to an end. We will catch you up next time when we should know the winner of the Stanley Cup. We will talk about the Atlantic and Metro divisions in our patented, not very good lightning round. But let's be honest. We're having a lot of fun because we can just talk about hockey nonsense all day. Hey everybody, thanks so much for listening to the Neutral Zone Hotel, which is written, hosted, and produced by the Neutral Zone Hotel crew. That's us. You can find out more about us at neutralzonehotel.com. Thanks always to our friend Emily Mowbray for designing this stupendous logo. We're on Instagram, Blue Sky, Neutral Zone Hotel, all one word. Same with YouTube. You can hit us up on Discord, neutralzonehotel.com/Discord to hang out with us. We would love it if you would give us a rating on your podcast platform of choice. If it's a thumbs up, give us a thumbs up. If it's 5 stars, I think we deserve